All right. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone. Stream number 2 today. Pre-market, New York, 7 a.m. We're starting basically. So I suppose a lot of different things are happening today. So therefore, um, more coverage will be on point, I guess. So let's go straight to the business. As mentioned, or as I was outlining during the London Open session, I mentioned that or on near term, price may want to seek premium, and that the new week opening up for this week was a reasonable objective slash draw for the price. And I mentioned specifically this 55 minutes after midnight 1 minute bearish fair value gap with that relative equal highs linked to it as potential draw on the upside. And it so happened that 10 minutes ahead of the 7 a.m. pre-market open, price traded right to it and some through it, and now we are again below it. But nonetheless, we reached that specific premium array, colored outside of the lines a little bit, failed to use it as inversion for now at least, and now we are selling off lower. So what is the game plan, in my opinion, in my mind, for the pre-market session today? I personally like the sell side liquidity from the 317 to 330, basically relative equal lows that are residing in close proximity to that old daily low here. That's the old daily low. So that's February 17th low. That's the sell side liquidity that I believe is a strong draw on the downside for the price. And that's my initial draw, initial idea about where price may want to gravitate to. So it's basically this area here, right? Yeah, let's leave it like this. So that's what I'm thinking in terms of the pre-market bias, pre-market idea about where the price may want to reach for. The fact that since London we were trading higher and higher and higher and higher, taking a lot of buy side liquidity pools, I believe that is really convenient to see it turn around eventually and seek lower. How it will deliver, if it will deliver, that's something to remains to be seen. And I believe that's what I'm going to watch and see today. So let's go straight to the price action here on the 1 minute, and I will be trying to analyze it live. All right, so again, as said, buy side liquidity here taken, rejected lower. This inefficiency was reached, failed to inverse, and now we are trading below this large BC right here. So I'm watching this candle right now, and I want to see how price behaves inside of it. So soon I will mark out the minor buy side and minor sell side liquidity. So on the near term we can see these relative equal lows, and these are clearly too smooth, and the low to the right is higher than the low to the left, which is a high probability candidate for a run on liquidity. All right, so we also tapped into the new week opening up. So far we failed to reach the lower quadrant. That's what it is, and we are challenging this BESI as potential inversion for value gap. So I'll add the quadrants of it on it, and I'm watching strictly the lower half. So I want to see price remain heavy around the lower half if we are going to see a run on the lows soon. Nonetheless, the 7 a.m. just started right now. This is the 7 a.m. candle. The New York AM kill zone starts with that, so as the pre-market does. All right, so that's the sell side. The buy side obviously rests above this high right here on the minor side of things. That's the buy side liquidity. And let's watch the price. So all right, we are closing above the consecutive encroachment here. So I'm thinking we might see, or we might be potentially trying to challenge this high, possibly, unless we come back below it again. This old 1 minute fair value gap here, I'm keeping that for a reference because that's an old premium array basically from earlier today, and that's also helping, or that will help in terms of like measuring the strength or weakness. All right, so far we traded slightly outside of it, but we did it only on a week basis, and the bodies are already closing below the lower quadrant of that inversion fair value gap. Why is it inversion? Because we closed below it. So that's why I'm thinking inversion. Plus we have relative equal lows here as likely draw. So that's something I would like to see potentially as the next objective on the downside here. All right, I like how you are leaving this inversion here. And truth to be told, I would like to see this high here stay as it is and not be challenged. That would be pretty nice and pretty constructive to see it trade lower, but nonetheless, due to the volatility and due to the fact that there is some action, some really uncertain stuff going on, I don't want to anticipate something that's not there, or I don't want to force something that will be proven wrong. I want to have things set in stone, basically, that either they are there or not. So for this time being, we have this swing high just being placed. We moved outside of it, and we are trying to tap into this inversion again. I prefer not to see a close above consecutive encroachment as it is. If we do, then I will be acting accordingly, but for now I would like to see a displacement from the lower half lower. That's what I'm thinking, at least. So yeah, let me add the eyeball here so everyone knows where my attention is. My attention is on the relative equal lows right here at this moment. I like how the bodies stayed at the lower quadrant of the inversion fair value gap, and still I would like to see now price displace lower. So there is a short-term low right here, and a large candle through it would be a displacement by definition. So that's what I want to see. If we can see that, then I'm very confident that price will vault quickly towards those relative equal lows. Right now we are spending some time around here. It might still be kinda iffy in terms of potential manipulation. As you can see, a lot of the candles here are sharing the previous candles range, so I really want to see them show their hand first before I really like would bet on it like super hard, right? But nonetheless, that's nice. That's what I want to see. Large down candle here, trading through this low, potentially even this low. That would be pretty good if we can do that. Vault with a displacement through this low. Relative equal lows right here. There you go. That's the displacement that I was talking about. Very nice displacement, large candle through this low, and preferably I want to see an imbalance being formed in here. There could be an immediate rebalance, and that's even stronger if it does that, but some measure of inefficiency should be or could be left, and that's good. That's constructive. So speed and acceleration lower towards those relative equal lows is definitely something I would like to see. We formed a small little fair value gap right there that is overlapping with the short-term low here. So that was displacement trading through it. We could possibly touch up into it, preferably we don't, but we could. And then I would really like to see the volt lower. But ideal scenario, this stays open and we just roll over trading below those relative equal lows. Alright, there we go. So we are picking up on speed. This was left open ideal, and we should smash the relative equal lows with no issues, no problems, soon and quickly. And then if we do that, I don't want to see price like reject that strongly. I would like to see price stay heavy and continuously be trading lower. So that would be my the next draw, or the next potential area to watch. But yeah, let's see how we do around here. So the relative equal low sell side is almost being engaged. We should sweep through it in the next couple of minutes. There is a small little volume imbalance right here, so I would allow for that to be traded too if it wants to, and then give up the ghost. Okay, there we go. So that's the volume balance. It could reach slightly above it. I wouldn't mind that. As far as consecutive encroachment of this week is like reasonable, I would say. But yeah. Let's see. So this is the consecutive encroachment of this week right there. Note that we traded into it with a wick, failed to touch the lower quadrant, and the body is close inside of the volume balance. So that's generally a good signature that it should continue going lower. There is a lot of sell side below those lows, and I would say they should just like attack it quickly. So that's what I'm expecting primarily. If we fail to do so and we start trading higher, then I will be careful and cautious, because that would be literally a manual intervention here if they don't take those out. So again, tapping into this week, consecutive encroachment was touched. Preferably we don't see a close above it. So I'm watching how this candle will close now. Alright, no close above consecutive encroachment, that's fine. Strong rejection would be really welcome in here. So just smash through this volume balance and like large down candles exploring into the sell side liquidity here. That's pretty much what I would like to see in the next couple of minutes. I personally don't think that we need to retrade back into this fair value gap. It's better if it stays open, but if we do somehow trade to it, then yeah, that's something I will be considering. But right now it looks literally loaded to just smash through those relative equal lows without like anything else. It already returned to short-term premium, rejected that strongly, but is respecting the lower half. The draw on liquidity is lower still, and yeah, it should have no problem to trade right on through the sell side. Alright, so again touching to the volume balance here one more time. It could do that, and preferably just repel that lower, like premium sensitivity, and smash lower. It shouldn't like spend too much time in this area. It should be rather quick and sudden. If we spend too much time in here, that's problematic. So I'm really like requiring to see speed in the delivery, and I'm requiring like sensitivity on the premium side or premium spectrum. So far it's there, everything is set for it to just move lower quickly and rate that sell side liquidity here, and possibly lower, right? So these lows and below, that's what I was thinking initially. so it should just quickly run just on through it. All right, so I really want to see it now pierce through that, because coming so close to the sell side like this and taking the short-term low here, I don't want to see rejection here. Any type of rejection. It should stay heavy and just smash through it. That's what I'm sticking to still, and that's what we are technically seeing. So price open, traded up into this up candle here as bearish order block, and now touching the low here, but I want to see it trade through it. So it should not only touch it, it should explore below this line, below this level. Alright, fakey, fake support, and it should pump through. We are piercing it politely here, but I want to see larger dump, larger candles below it. And again, judging on how we trade below that level here, I want to see if we will be managing to reach towards the sell side here for the pre-market. Alright, nonetheless, the first objective was technically met. Right, the first objective for the pre-market was technically met, outlined from this inversion fair value gap down to those relative equal lows here. Still, I want to see potential discovery below those equal lows, so I'm watching, but nonetheless I'm basically waiting for more information to justify a potential continuation, which in my opinion is reasonably likely or even highly likely regarding the higher time frame bearish bias at the moment. So that's what I'm watching. If it's actually true, and if it's actually going to trade lower more aggressively, I want to see displacement below those equal lows here. I don't want to see it tap below it and then reject. That's not what I want to see. I want to see it trade to it, through it, stay heavy, potentially even like trade back into it and then fail, like displace. That's when I would be comfortable and confident that we are likely going to seek lower. Until then, I'm not holding that strong of a opinion, because still a lot can happen. We have news later today. We have the 9:30 open yet to see the volatility. So I'm kind of trying to keep the powder dry and not go too emotional or excited about what it can or can't do, right? So So far we swept this relative equal lows only with wicks, and that's not necessarily what warrants a continuation in my by my definition though. So unless we purge this low one more time, we might see some retracement back inside of this range here. Or on the minor side, the minor buy side is right above this high here, and there is an inefficiency above it. So if it want to make a deeper retracement from where it is, that would be like a logical area to watch. But still, I want to see it purge, or I want to see if it can actually make a deeper right on the sell side here, a deeper purge lower, because that's in line with the higher time frame bearish bias that I hold. Okay, so far it failed even to reach the volume imbalance, and it's wilting lower politely here. So in my opinion, that's a great moment to see it make a potential run, deeper run below this low here. That's what I want to see. That would also imply weakness to it. Right, so another return to that volume balance. Now we are going deeper through it. Looks like we left those equal lows here at those equal lows there. So this is kind of like using this as support, right? But I don't think this is there to stay. This looks fake to me, to be honest. And on near term, if we could reach this minor bicep here, I will be watching if we can fail and move lower after that. If not, then a deeper retracement might be warranted. But until then, I'm kind of like thinking that we can still roll over lower. That's basically the main idea for now. So we went above this volume balance, but only on a weak basis. The bodies are staying below, so this is also a good signature that supports bearishness, even if it will go for this high, which is 50-50. It might do it, it might not do it. So regardless, nonetheless, what I'm waiting for right now is displacement lower. Large CB, large range to the downside, preferably taking on those lows. That's what I want to see. until I see that, I'm less interested in what price does, because it can just stay inside of this little range. It can consolidate in here. It can maybe even like do a deeper retracement, which I wouldn't like to be a part of, right? So that's why I'm waiting for the displacement first, and then I would be more it would be more trustworthy to me that it's actually going to seek lower prices next or soon, right? Because no one wants to be in a move that is not going to move anywhere, right? We want to be in a move that is moving somewhere quickly, and that's the characteristic of the low resistance liquidity run. All right, so I'm watching another attempt to trade through this in here. If we can do it or not. Clearly price kind of like consolidated a little bit in here, so it was like moving nicely directionally, but now as we met this liquidity pool, we slowed down. But as I'm mentioning all the time, I don't believe that this is enough of a purge, or this is enough of a rate on the relative close, and I would still possibly want to see it trade deeper, because as for the whole day or session, my interest is still here, and that's what I'm watching potentially as a draw on price for the day, basically. So there is still like plenty of range from where we are right now to here. But to even consider that lower objective, right, I need to see certain signatures in price around here, because if I don't get them, then the probabilities are basically not in my favor to expect that at the time or at the moment that I'm watching the price, which is fine, right? That means I just have to wait, and price may stay inside of a little range, or maybe have some retracement. That's okay, but that's only okay if I'm not in a position, and if I'm not worrying or needing something to happen, right? So that's the advantage of being in that spot right now, of reading the tape and not being in a market and like forcing an idea just because it's required to reach my target, my profit target. So right now we have somewhat of a relative equal highs in here and somewhat of a relative equal lows in here. So we are in a range, we are in a consolidation in here. Price is compressing after sweeping these relative equal lows very politely. So still sticking with the higher time frame premise and sticking with the idea that this purge was too shallow, this run or sweep was too shallow, I favor continuation lower. But we need to leave the range first, right? Because as long as we are inside of this range, it can be somewhat of a 50-50, which, you know, that's not a probability that you can work with like confidently in. So All right, so just hanging around inside of this range, I let it, I give it the time to do so. I don't mind. So the next time or time element aspect that I would expect the price to leave this range. It might do it sooner, it might do it later, but generally at this time, so 734, the closest macro is at 750, and that's basically around when I would expect the price to start moving outside of this range, if it will not do it earlier. So I'm comfortable waiting until that time if it wants to do so, because yeah, as I said, inside of this range it's really 50-50. It could go either way basically. Let me maybe maximize this chart so we can watch it in higher definition, because it's getting squirrely, and due to the fact that price goes sideways this much, it's being quite compressed. But nonetheless, that's a cleaner view of the price action here. Again, this volume imbalance is keeping the bodies intact, but we are staying still inside this range. So relative equal lows, relative equal highs, consolidation in here, that's what we are seeing. And what I want to see is to trade outside of this range here. My preferred bias is still lower, but nonetheless I want to see a displacement to the downside first, so I can then build some narrative around it for potential continuation. But yeah, in this area it could as well trade above the highs first and still fail, or it can do a lot of things. That's why we don't want to trade the consolidations primarily. But okay, we are tapping the relative equal lows here, and this might be a potential trade outside of that. So far the bodies are dead, stopping dead in its track on this low and not expanding any lower. So we are basically still stuck inside of this range, even though it looked like we could break lower. We failed to do so here, and we have very smooth relative equal highs. These highs are, I believe, yeah, they are almost perfect here. So minor short-term buy side liquidity is resting here and here, and because we've taken already this low and this low and this low, it's reasonable to expect a measure of retracement, because so far price is not showing a displacement lower. Therefore this potential run on short-term buy side is definitely in the cards. So this is the grand scheme of things, the bigger picture, and this is the relative equal lows that I think are or can be the next draw on price still. But so far we need to work out this little range and leave it, right? That's very important. We need to leave this range. So yeah, right now we are trading into the small little fair value gap right here. I'm not paying too much mind to it because it's inside of this back and forth price action consolidation. So all of this is technically balanced out very well. We have down and up candles inside of this overlapping, so it's not like this is be a window for value gap, but it's still like worth to watch and see, right, how price reacts or responds around it. So far it traded to it, to the high of the week, but the body's staying below. So if we can see a displacement lower from it, like serious large SIBI overtaking this low, then yeah, I would consider continuation lower. But until then, we could still come back for those relative equal highs here and this minor buy set here, as this is just too smooth and too clean, and it's close to the price, and they can just do it, right? It's not that much of a range. They can just take it out and that's it, right? So yeah, this is somewhat a small fractal of what we see or what we've seen in the last couple of months on the daily chart. The daily chart, the daily price action was stuck inside of a range, like somewhat like this, right? Obviously a little different, but the theory, the logic is the same. It was stuck inside of a range, unwilling to move directionally. And that's the same thing that we see on the 1 minute chart here, and yeah, that's just difficult, right? That brings high resistance. That's the probability is less in our favor if we see that, and the ideal option or the ideal move at the time when we see something like this is just to wait and let it work this range out and leave this range, because eventually we will leave this range. We will not stay inside this range for the remainder of the day. We might stay inside of it for, I don't know, next 10, 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, but eventually we will move outside of it, right? The same way like on the daily chart. The daily chart range will not stay there for the whole year. Most likely we will leave it, and the longer it goes, the probability of eventually seeing a directional price run increases. So that's the thing. Yeah, so as mentioned earlier, this fair value gap, because it was inside this consolidation, it was not too big of a deal for me, right? And we can see that it's not really providing that much of a response anyway. So I just might take it off. And yeah, got to wait. So right, besides these lows here, what do we have? The next pool of sell-side liquidity is here, and these are also relative equal lows. Yes, this one is lower than this one, but it's still very like obvious relative equal lows. It has this wick to it, so I want to grade that. And that will be a future reference point for the price, where I will be able to measure the order flow around it, meaning that if price trades heavily through it, like on a closing basis, and then uses this as resistance, then that would be a very nice signature or indication that we might seek lower prices still, which would be in line with that lower draw down there. But yeah, so this is the game plan for now. So yeah, I can't do anything about price staying inside this range besides waiting for more information and waiting for the price to leave this range. You're welcome, Erdogan. I'm glad you are enjoying the stream. By the way, I'm just checking that I have 5 people watching right now, which is nice. Thanks. I hope you guys enjoy the broadcast here. And yeah, I'm trying to give you the best, the honest opinion of myself, of years of experience of doing this work and craft. So that's what I do, and that's all I will do. But yeah, it's always nice when I see people enjoy hanging around and spending time with me watching price, because yeah, I mean that's what it is about. I'm streaming for myself, but if I can help someone, that's very good. Thanks, Candy Cane 5. And yeah, very best, better than ICT. I mean that's a little bit too far of a comparison. I don't think so, but I'm getting there one day. All right, so we got the minor buy side liquidity, the relative equal highs, and the minor buy side liquidity here. There is this very small little fair value gap right above it, right? So this is what I'm watching as the extreme on the upside. Nonetheless, sweeping this buy side, and if it can lead to a displacement lower with large candles, that could be constructive to see a continuation. But nonetheless, it has to show a measure of displacement. If it stays around with these little overlapping candles inside of this range, it's just a nothing burger and nothing to worry about, and just wait longer. So let's see. How did I learn all of them? Yeah, I mean I spent years learning and mastering the craft, so this is not something I started a month ago. I actually started learning 8 years ago, and ever since I'm really try-harding on it. So yeah, this is my life's work, to be honest, and that's what I pursue as a journey for life. And yeah, that's how it is. I was also in the private mentorship since 2021, and yeah, never ending grind on my part. All right, all right, all right. So far we are hanging around, kind of like fishing for a potential tap into this little fair value gap right here, this inefficiency. That's in the cards. I would preferably see it left open. That's the best case scenario, but you kind of like need to judge by the price action. And because it's in a range like this, it's in a consolidation, it could really do like either way. It could trade higher from here, it could trade lower. So it's really important to wait for more information, for clear information that is then somewhat that is confirmed by later price action, right? By the way, in the description you can find a link to a Telegram channel that I have. That's the only Telegram channel that I own. It's for free, and it's only there because, or for the purpose of, if I end the stream, I can kind of like stay in touch with you guys, and you can like get access to my thoughts about the marketplace, or about the market overall, off stream basically. So that's what it is. So I like the displacement here. So we swept the buy side. We failed to reach this inefficiency. That's good. And now we see a measure of displacement lower. And what time is it? 7:50. So this is the macro time that I'm expecting now price to move outside of this range. So in the next 20 minutes, I suspect the price will start moving. It will start having a directional price run. I favor that it will be to the downside. But regardless, whatever it will be, it should move outside of this range. So that's what I'm sticking to basically at the moment. And yeah, so seeing what we have in here, I would really like to see a close below this low here, a close below this low here, and I want to see this CB if it stays there. Let's see, because this candle didn't close yet. But if we have this CB in, I don't want to see price close above it. No close below this range yet, so we might see a touch into this CB. Preferably this stays open. Preferably this will act as breakaway gap. So why do I think so, or why do I want to see that? Because we were consolidating in a range. We tapped the buy side relative equal highs here and this minor buy side here, and then rejected that with a displacement lower, taking the short-term low. So if we are leaving this range, it would be very, very, very convenient to leave this imbalance open, and that would act as a breakaway gap. This, as institutional order French drill, is fine. It could do that, but it should not close below it. So we tapped into this, and now I would really like to see it like reject and trade deeper lower, aiming for those lows here. Right? But that's kind of like what I have on in my mind right now. On my mind. God damn it. Okay, so the fact that we have a volume balance here, we basically like gapped lower, that's a very good sign too. So this, the price, I don't see any need for price to come back to here if it's willing to move lower. So looks like we are going to be challenging this week. And yeah, if it's bearish, if it's heavy, it should have no problem closing below it. It should just smash right through it, and that's, you know, that's what you want to see. All right, quickly approaching the consecutive encroachment. That's good, but we need to see a close below it. If we do that, everything is set, in my opinion, for a nice deeper run lower, potentially reaching towards this sell set here. So that's what I'm watching, that's what I'm thinking at the moment. Nice down candle here, closing below the consecutive encroachment on the first candle, and that's how I want to see it stay. I don't want to see price start closing above it. I mean, worst case scenario, it could reach to this volume balance here, but then it would need to reject it quickly. So let me annotate this. There is a volume balance. Worst case scenario, it could retrace there, but preferably it stays heavy and we see exploration lower, because we just left this range. We just left it, so we spent a lot of time. They trapped people with this false breakout above those highs, and now running quickly away, leaving a breakaway gap here and closing right away below this consecutive encroachment of this week, which is a sign of a bearish order flow. There is a small little fair value gap right here, right now, and this volume balance. So tapping into this is fine, that's permissible, but we want to see it reject lower. And the line in the sand is that it should not trade back to this fair value gap here. It should not. If it does, I require more information whether it will want to trade lower. But this in here, because there is like this whole down candle, series of down candles is like imbalance here. So trading into this, it's fair, it's good, but I'm expecting price to repel it lower and basically sell off, reaching towards the sell side liquidity here. Best case scenario, obviously, for the pre-market. All right. Why not streaming at specific time? Random streams are hard to watch. Yeah, I guess you're right, Money Glitch. I guess I'm a little bit inconsistent with stream timing. That's true. But yeah, I don't know if you guys prefer like one stream or like one session only, then I guess I could work it out, to be honest. But yeah, I'm just like having some fun with the volatility right now and just reading price, regardless, on some random times sometimes. But yeah, this is still like the pre-market session, so it's not like a complete random time for the market, but yeah, it's maybe a random time for the stream. So yeah, but nonetheless, we are returning back to this fair value gap here, and I don't like that personally. I don't like to see that, to be honest. So this right away is a little bit fishy to me. and yeah, it would need to like really harshly reject that if it's still willing to seek lower during the pre-market. So I definitely like allow for it if it wants to do it, but yeah, I need to watch, because we just left this range right here and we are now coming back to it. So this is like the consolidation, and that might be a return back into the consolidation before we see further distribution, right? But still this should not see a closure above. After the market opens at 9:30, right? Okay, no, I mean that's a good time. Yeah, always that's a good time to watch the price. So yeah, maybe that's the way. Maybe that's where I will settle. But let me be a little bit creative with those streams. This is the second stream today, by the way. So yeah, don't be mad at me for that. London and New York, yeah. Yeah. 3 to 4, 10 to 11. Yeah, classic silver bullet, old school. Yeah, I remember when I was doing the London, the New York AM session and the PM session in one day, 3 streams. And Money Glitch, I'm certain you remember that too. That was crazy though. Yeah. Good old times though. Good old times. So nonetheless, we did close above this inefficiency here, which kind of like kind of like makes me require more information on it at the moment, because it could easily want to reach for this minor buy side now and maybe revisit this fair value gap here. So on a very near term, short term basis, this is definitely inside of like reasonable. Goes in the machine. Yeah, I remember that name though. I remember that you rebranded later. Yeah, that was fun though. All right, so we traded above it with a close, but we right away failed to inverse this per value gap, so it's failing to offer any support, right? Which I want to see right now if it can act as reclaimed bearish fair value gap, meaning if we can close below it, I would like to see it act as bearish reclaimed fair value gap, meaning the lower half should be respected then as resistance, and if we can displace out of it, then I believe we are back to the expecting lower prices, right? Alright, so far it looks like we are kind of like slowing down in here, around here. We've taken a few sell side liquidity pulls on the way, no significant continuation or displacement lower as it is. We are trading again into this fair value gap here. As I mentioned, I would like to see it act as reclaimed bearish fair value gap, meaning that it should not close above the consecutive encroachment again, and it should see displacement lower out of it in theory, right? But because it's so rangy in here, I really need to wait for the displacement first. If there is no displacement first, it's far more risky, because it could still see a run on this short-term high here, for example. On the near-term basis, it's reasonable, right? There is buy side, it's in close proximity. We've taken sell side here. It refused to go lower as it is yet, so we are in this area in price that it's a little bit tricky, and it requires a little bit of time to like settle down, because it's not that one-sided. Even though my higher time frame bias is bearish, it could still like offer a short-term rally higher, right? And yeah, I don't want to go against that if it's in price. So I will annotate the minor buy side right here. With that inefficiency, I will take this off because it's too busy on the chart. I will extend this line. So that was the low that was swept, but very politely and very shallowly. So I would still like to see a deeper offer a deeper run below that. Therefore my attention is preferably lower. Yeah, because it's spending so much time in here and refusing to trade lower, this is far more likely. And yeah, we can, as I'm talking, it's displacing higher. So this is reasonable on the upside. And this small little fair value gap, it's very small, it looks insignificant, but that's important reference point on the upside, whether we can reach up into it. So short-term high was taken here, reclaimed fair value gap, it failed to do so. So that was a bearish fair value gap initially. We closed above it, all right? So basically it failed its initial function. Then we went below it again, and it failed again as reclaimed bearish fair value gap, right? So we are above it again, right? Therefore, because we close above it, it's now potential inversion fair value gap. So we watch whether it offers those signatures or sensitivity around that in this way, potentially reaching towards this minor buy side in here, because this high and this high are now relatively equal, and this is lower than this one. So this is high probability candidate to see a run on liquidity. And if that's the case, this inefficiency, and especially the upper half of it, so between the high to the 50%, should be sensitive, and that's what we are seeing right now. So that's very little, very small little micro structure that is in play, but yet it offers precision nonetheless. This is, by the way, this is not something I want to like actively engage or take a trade on, but this is something that I want to watch and see and measure the order flow behind the price, because I preferably want to see a run lower eventually, but until that's in price, I cannot engage on it, right? And there are, because we got in this small range, there are these small little range caveats that price may want to do with it, and potentially reaching and sweeping this minor buy side here is one of them. So we went very, very, very close to it, but yet did not take that out, right? And now returning back to this inversion for value gap. So it would really need to be very responsive and quickly reject it and trade above that. Otherwise, we are basically in front of a rattlesnake shaking its tail, right? Because as we can see, price is clearly losing somewhat of a directional delivery, right? Again, we are kind of like getting stuck inside of a range if it's not respecting this to run higher, because that's the most logical and the most reasonable outcome at the time. And if that happens, if that actually unfolds, then I will watch for further signatures, whether this buy side was taken, absorbed, and we will roll over lower, or whether we will see a continuation and maybe challenge this high here, or maybe we'll just consolidate. So there is so many potential options that you need to weather as a trader at all times, especially when dealing with these small little time frames like 1 minute, right? There is a lot of candles, a lot of action that needs to be considered at the time, and yeah, it's pretty dynamic, right? It's pretty dynamic because PDRs are forming every minute almost, new liquidity pools are forming, and that has to be considered. It's not that static, right? Alright, so price went really close to that minor buy side, but yet it failed so far to reach above it. Is this a sign of strength? Not really, right? If it were bullish, it would already like smash through it, but it's still failing to do so. In fact, it's engineering relative equal highs right now, because these are now very smooth relative equal highs. So buy side that will be resting above that will be a vital pool of liquidity that the smart money operators could potentially use as a counterparty to enter. And what positions will they enter above relative equal highs? Shorts, right? Because that's what they do. They sell above old highs and buy below old lows. That's what they do. So I guess this is a good example of why I didn't wanted to see a close above this CB initially. Because if we would do that, and we actually did, that could lead to this problematic price action, right? Because this is somewhat of a problematic price action right now, and we need to still further wait for more insight, for more information, and that's kind of like, you know, knowing when not to push, knowing when not to do something. And yeah, that was a small little thing, right? But yet it led to this very small little choppy price range that is not really working either higher or lower. So that's also the thing. And yeah, it's technically not like a problem to see that, to observe that, but it's a problem if you want to trade and it's like this. Like that's difficult then, right? Because how you will manage the risk? The risk of stop out is like far greater than, and it's, you know, way more difficult to read the price like very accurately. So yeah, for the time being, as we are stuck inside of this range, the minor sell side is here, minor buy side is here. I suspect that we will trade above this as we are respecting this inversion fair value gap here, especially after it failed to offer bearishness 2 times. This is pretty much yeah, we are very close to it, so you know, that's likely. And then I'm watching this fair value gap here. So if we go above it, I want to see whether we can reach into this little small imbalance right there. And if we do, and how we do, that will be indicative whether we will see a deeper retracement into the new week opening up, possibly, or whether we roll over lower. So there you go. That's the small little fair value gap right here that we are trading, and we've taken relative equal highs buy side liquidity. So if it's bearish at this point, if it's bearish at this moment, we would expect some measure of rejection and displacement lower. That's not necessarily what we see right now, which is fine. It's okay. I don't mind that. That's an information that basically is saying that, all right, shorts are not there yet, basically, which is fine. So yeah, let me extend this because that might be a factor. And this is the range that we are trading back into, from this high to this low. We are basically around the 50%. Yeah, exactly at 50%. It's here. So this fair value gap is basically the first premium array above equilibrium. We traded to it and through it with a wick, came back lower, and then this next candle is trading higher again. So I'm watching this wick, this premium wick, consecutive encroachment. If we manage to close above it, I will suspect a potential run towards this high here, and there is a very small volume imbalance right here. Right, so it's close above the consecutive encroachment, and it's very quickly smashed higher into this inversion fair value gap. Yes, but moreover, I'm interested in this short-term buy side here and this small little volume imbalance right there. And how we trade there, if we trade there, I would then consider this buy side liquidity pool here being taken out even, right? At that point. So yeah, it's very like aggressively stretching higher with large candles. So basically what I wanted to see on the downside, it did it here on the upside. So it smashed this buy side, close above it, and now this little volume imbalance here already smashing through it. If that's the case, this buy side here is very likely to be blown, and that's okay, that's fine. I don't mind that. That wasn't the direction that I wanted to engage with, because it's against my higher time frame bias, and that's fine, that's good, that's all right, that's all informations that we can now utilize. So I will clear up the chart a little bit. Let me remove this, and let me remove this, and let me remove the FIB here, so it stays a little bit cleaner. What is important at the moment, we traded up into this new week opening up. That's a large new week opening up here, and we traded right back into it, and we are in the lower quadrant of it. So this buy side is in close proximity to this lower quadrant. So if it indeed in fact wants to take that, I would suspect that 24,751 would be a potential candidate as a premium array. Alright, will we see that? That's where I'm watching, potentially to see price to turn. But nonetheless, we have a BSI here, or actually a suspension block, which is a variation of a BSI. So this is the quadrant there. I'll add the quadrants to this BSI, and preferably upper half of this and drawing up into there next is very, very reasonable, I would say. So after all of this rangy, sloppier price action here that was somewhat sus, somewhat 50-50. We saw a rally higher now, and now that this gives us information that we might seek this buy side and into this quadrant there. That's all I'm gonna say right now, as I need to drink some water. By the way, we blown this buy side liquidity pool here off of this upper quadrant of this suspension block. Now I'm watching if we can manage to reach this white lower quadrant of the current week, new week opening up. Do I watch only Nasdaq? I do watch some other markets too, but I believe that for streaming sake, I'm just going to talk about Nasdaq because it's a cool market though, and it usually has a lot of action. Right, so buy side was taken here, alt high, only with a week or only on a week basis. We had this premium week late right there, and we are rejecting off of the consecutive encroachment. So this is definitely an area that is important to watch, because we could see a turn around here, or we could see a reversal here to seek lower prices, but clearly before that happens I want to see some signatures first. The fact that price would fail to reach to this level would be pretty weak and pretty bearish for the price. So basically I'm watching now this suspension block, alright, and I will be expecting lower prices if we can manage to overtake this inefficiency to the downside. So closure below it is, in my opinion, a good measurement for potential like coming bearishness or weakness. Until that happens, we could still see a higher high here, and that's what I'm watching. If we can actually bulk it up, right? If we can make it, because we could easily. Especially as we are respecting the upper quadrant of this suspension block with the bodies right here. Small little bearish fair value gap tapped into, and price is showing premium sensitivity here. Okay, So think right now in terms of the liquidity. What liquidity was taken most recently? Buy side. Many levels of buy side. Buy side here, 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 here. Lots of buy side liquidity pools were taken. Where inside of this price leg we had most recent run on sell side? It was here. Those lows taken there. So since then we have not seen a sell side ride. So all of the sell side liquidity resides here, which is basically a relative equal lows there. So this is a great draw on price if we will fail here. And I'm saying that because we already closed below the suspension block after we've taken buy side here, and we also repriced from this little fair value gap there and left it mostly open. So if it stays like this, then it's constructive for lower, right? But yet we have not closed below this suspension block at all, right? We closed below consecutive encroachment. That's fine, but that doesn't makes this inversion fair value gap, right? It's only going to perform as inversion if we close below it. We can anticipate it becoming an inversion, but that doesn't change the fact that it's not inversed yet. Okay, let me see the ES here. What did ES do? Okay, so ES also have taken the buy side here and also rejected strongly. It actually closed below its own respective imbalance here. So ES did inversed this level. It has sell side here and here. So yes, having slightly cleaner price action here, I would say. But yeah, nonetheless, Nasdaq has a good enough structure here. Wait a second. This, okay, here. Yeah. Right, it looks very close to, but the Nasdaq closed at the low of this suspension block, so it's still like meandering around, not inversed, spending quite some time inside of it and closed it completely. So the underlying bullishness is not there, basically. I'm not thinking, or I'm not seeing this as bullish at all. Therefore, I think it's actually going to potentially start seeking lower sooner than later, but still it's kinda sloppy. So I'm still waiting for the price to close below this. Suspension block and then potentially use it as inversion. I may include my 15-second and 5-second here. To add some depth to it. Alright, so we close below that. Now I can change the color, and now I want to see this act specifically as a inversion fair value gap, bearish inversion fair value gap. So the lower half of this inefficiency should give premium sensitivity to the price, so we can possibly see it trade lower. So as we are returning now back into it, I'm watching the 15-second and 5-second chart to see a displacement lower. It has to be obvious, it has to be large, it has to be, you know, displaced. It has to be like there. It cannot be like a small little fair value gap. It has to be displacement. Then and only then, if I get that signature here, I would consider taking a short, aiming for the sell side here and potentially lower. Alright, so far we tapped and touched the lower quadrant. but the bodies are not really exploring anything above it. No displacement as it is yet. As you can see, the 15-second and 5-second had no serious displacement lower as it is right now. So I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for that signature to be in price. So another attempt to reach the consecutive encroachment, but again failed. The bodies are staying inside of the lower quadrant. So that's generally good or generally bearish signature in that regard. But yet to like expect a run out of it, I need to see a displacement first. Also, price is kind of like slowing down in here. It's like again getting into this smaller ranges, and it's 842. So I would say 8 minutes ahead of the 850 to 910 macro, right? I would say if it's like this, it's probably going to wait for that 20 minutes macro before moving, unless it's like makes the displacement earlier. By the way, this is not the easiest price action ever. I can tell you that. This is not the easiest day. Also, it's rather challenging, and it's rather. I mean, the difficulty is high. I would say it's not an easy day. So far, there were some predictable runs. There were some little moves here and there, but overall, since London, it's mostly high resistance liquidity run conditions, which obviously that's when it gets difficult. Definitely the Asian session was or had the cleanest and clearest price run so far today. And I didn't participate in it. I was actually sleeping during the Asian session, but I saw in hindsight that it had actually a nice directional price run, which was low resistance, and that is also a part why we see this much difficulties right now. So that's also kind of like managing the expectations here on the fly, because even though I want to see nice pristine low resistance liquidity runs during the time I'm watching the price, if it's not conducive, if it's not there, it's not there, and nothing I can do about it. So we touched the low of this suspension block again, and now we offered some measure of displacement here lower, and there is a fair value gap here on the 5-second that I would generally like, and it's this inefficiency right there. All right, So I'm watching this price already close above it, so that's not what I want to see. And the fact that it's high resistance here is the problem. But if we can manage to close below it, trade again to it, I would consider this as potential short then. But right now obviously we are already above it, right? So it's not a question. But yeah, if we can close above below it, touch it, then I would even probe a potential setup there if that happens. But again, these are high resistance liquidity run conditions too, so keep that in mind. Right, we closed below it and we touched into it, so I'm probing a short scenario, and yeah, because it's high resistance, the stop loss that I would be comfortable with would be above the consecutive encroachment of this inversion, which is quite large, to be honest, but it at least has to be above this 1 minute swing high, I believe. Because yeah, using the 5 second as the means of managing the risk in here is quite unreasonable. So that's how I do it here. But yeah, preferably above consecutive encroachment. That's, I believe, where I can put the stop with reasonable safety net, because this is high resistance liquidity run conditions, and this can offer a deeper retracement, and if it does, I believe it should not go past this consecutive encroachment on the inversion. If it does, then it is what it is. But yeah, that's just like one horse in the race, so we can like watch and see how it delivers. It's also 1 micro, by the way, so it's not much at all. But yeah, that's kind of like the idea, while keeping in mind that tight stop loss with this type of high resistance liquidity run conditions is not conducive, and trusting that it's weak, that it's heavy, and that the sell-side liquidity here is the draw. I might be wrong, I might be proven otherwise, but that's what I'm generally trying to outline or stick with as an idea. Alright, so I also use this 5 second bearish fair value gap right here as the means of entering. I use it as the reclaimed bearish fair value gap. That was the actual entry that I took. And yeah, that's what we watch now. Generally, how price is trading around here, that's not conducive for low resistance liquidity run. That's classic high resistance, which is kind of like, or can be kind of like difficult to manage, especially with tight stop losses, but nonetheless. Nonetheless, this should be reasonably okay. But what I want to see price trade below it on a closing basis and stay below it on a closing basis, because all of this is like coloring outside of the lines, which is okay. This is 5-second chart, so this is reasonable. But eventually we would like to see it tank below it and just leave below it. Alright, something like this. Yeah, we tanked below it like that with displacement here, and preferably this should like stay like this. I mean, we don't need to come back to this area. That's what I'm trying to say. Really don't need to come back to it at this moment. And displacement lower is very, very welcome and constructive, if we can see that. So these are the relative equal lows that are basically the first and primary objective on the downside. If we can attack that, obviously that's the larger target. I will draw the take profit slightly below it for now, so you can just watch the price and allow for a deeper purge if it wants to do that. If not, then that's fine too, but we'll see. So now, because it displaced here like this, I'm more conducive to like move my stop loss lower, and I will bring it, yeah, probably to the low of this inversion for value gap. It's like fair, maybe slightly above it, just in case it wants to touch, but it shouldn't do that though. It shouldn't go higher from where it is right now. If it does, I'm probably want to get stopped then. So there is 1 minute SIB here. I'm watching this, and preferably I want to see price straight into it as it does and repel price lower aggressively. So that's what I want to see. So this is basically the area where another round of displacement lower should form. We traded into this, little inefficiency here, one candle, second candle, likely a swing high being placed, no bodies close above 50%. It should just show expansion to the downside. Alright, so picking up some speed here would be welcome, and stretching towards this low here where the sell side liquidity resides. That would be something that I would like to see, right? It should get like heavy. Deep retracements at this point, not welcome. This inefficiency should stay as it is, and that's constructive for seeing lower. Nice displacement here, I like to see that. That's very nice, that's good. And because we do see this displacement here, now I can move my stop loss to right above this fair value gap here. So I'm basically securing a break-even position here no matter what. So I don't want to see price come back and stop me out here. I mean, obviously I don't want to see that, but I don't want to see price go higher at this moment there, because that's not good for my short then. I like how we're stretching lower, that's very good, and quickly approaching this low. So not only I want to see price trade to it, but also I want to see price trade through it, so it can allow a deeper purge on liquidity here on the sell side. Alright, there you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I want to see. Trade to it and through it. And this is basically the first objective on the downside that I had. And that's a reasonable area for partial or complete position closure. Because I have only one contract, I will take it off here. And that's like solid enough, good enough. It can trade lower, yes. I suspect it might do it, but you know, that's a reasonable and logical level or area to take something off. Not taking something off here is basically a bad habit, and yeah, that's not what I want to encourage. So regardless, that was the trade execution here that I did using a 5-second bearish fair value gap as my entry, and it delivered quite nicely, though you have to admit it was quite a nice run, over 50 handles. So yeah, end price rejecting back into the range. So if I did not took out the partial here, obviously I had only one contract, so it doesn't really matter that much, but if I had like two and I didn't took out a partial here below, I wouldn't feel comfortable with this deeper retracements here, right? And after all, it could even go higher, right? So you know, you have to always deal with the uncertainty, and yeah, that was working with the highest probability, what we did here, what I did. And now I want to watch and see. Double trader, do you only focus on pre-market or do you trade past 9:30 or PM session? Yeah, I mean, I'm a black horse, you know. I'm around the clock. I never trade Asia. You will not see me during Asia, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm generally around there, either London pre-market on the morning session, very rare PM session, but yeah. Thanks, guys. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. So I believe that's a good moment to end up the stream here, as I feel a little bit of exhausted already. That's my second broadcast today. This one is over 2 hours, and yeah, I'm as I'm trying to speak a lot about what's happening, it takes some energy. So yeah, thank you guys for watching today. I will be around during the week, so we will stay in touch. If you want some additional insights, or like some different or deeper analysis, sometimes I'm posting that on my Telegram channel. That's in the link in description. It's only to keep in touch off stream. And yeah, so that's it. Thank you guys very much. Keep in mind this sell side liquidity here for the remainder of the day. That's where my attention like finally resides. I would like to see that overall later, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. So thanks, and see you guys. Bye bye.